Jacob is an executive vice president and a managing partner with Drivestream. I'm sure he's going to introduce himself, but I reported to him. He's going to run the moderating session today, and he will be now pulling up the panelists and doing an introduction. So hope you enjoy your lunch. Please don't stop eating. Do that while Jacob is speaking, and we'll try to make it in. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, Jay. Good afternoon, everyone. Jacob Thomas, it's me again. What I will do before, I know the panelists are still eating, so feel free to eat because I'll be chatting for a few more minutes, so before you come up, I put a call on you. What I wanted to do was set the context for the discussion today, this afternoon. There's nothing like having lunch and talking about cloud at the same time. It's a great session today. So what I felt was I will chat for about 5-10 minutes to lay the groundwork so that it will generate discussion. And there are 5 areas that I'd like to bring up when you are thinking about cloud. We have today in the audience people who are about to embark on an implementation of cloud. They're considering migration to the cloud. And there are people who have just decided and just stepped onto it and they are on their journey. And then we have people here who have accomplished it in a way. And we'll have both groups of people coming up here. The ones who have just started and why they decided to start that way. And then we have ones who have already completed that process and are on the cloud, if you will. So we will hear from them as well. Now, to help facilitate that discussion, what I've done is a couple slides. Not that I want to go through these slides, in all its entirety, but I want to talk about first understanding cloud success factors, and then we'll bring the panel so they can talk about those success factors or challenges or risks associated with those. All right, so here are they. Invariably, right? Wipro, Drivestream. In fact, let me just back up here so they don't. By the way, the answers for those $100 questions are right there, but I won't. So if you're wondering what's Wipro and Drivestream, right? Who are these two companies? Some of you have heard of Drivestream and have come here because of Drivestream. Some of you are here because of Wipro. We're both here. Just so that you know, Wipro and Drivestream is one and the same when it comes to cloud. We're one company when we're implementing cloud. Drivestream is a much smaller company based out of Sterling, Virginia, and we embarked on the cloud as one of the partners of Oracle. We became one of the top 3 leading partners to implement Oracle Cloud back roughly 3 years, 36 months or so ago. And since then, we've implemented roughly about 125 plus cloud, HR, and ERP and CX implementations. 70% of those are cloud. The remaining 35% or so are ERP. We have done implementations both at the same time. There's some advantages of doing both at the same time. There are some things to consider when you do it separately as well. We have companies here who have done either or and both. So the things we can ask those questions from those folks who are here who have attempted one or the other or both at the same time. So since we started this journey and came this long, obviously some of the larger SI partners started courting us. We ended up in a strategic partnership with Wipro, which is a $8 billion company with 156,000 employees and 60 country locations. Wipro invested in Drivestream as their cloud practice, if you will. So today, overnight, Drivestream has, just like with Wipro, is everywhere throughout the world, globally capable of doing some of the largest implementations. So we span the spectrum of small business, mid-market, all the way to up-market customers and the enterprise segment as well. So that's why we're here together. And from your perspective, it's just one and the same company. With that said, I want to go over these. Given that we have gone through this journey in the last 36 months with multiple customers, we have an opinion of the market. We have an opinion about what makes sense when it comes to some lessons learned through all of these implementations. If I took all of those lessons learned and put them up in 5 categories, these are those categories. The next implementation that we will undertake with you, or any of you, invariably you will run into one, two, or all five. Some of these can be turned into risks and challenges, or they could be the opposite, become success factors for you. So why not talk about these 5 things this afternoon as you're enjoying your lunch, right? So let's go through that, right? So first of all, open discussion. So when you're starting out an implementation with cloud, and considering migration to cloud, I always talk about having the foundation set. I always use the analogy of building a house. You're building a house, you first have the foundation. You've decided to have 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a rec room, and so on, with certain dimensions. You build the foundation with those dimensions. And then you start building. You can put anything you want on top of that afterwards, right? It's not about the paint color that you need to worry about, because you can always change the paint color. It's not about the window treatments, because you can change the window treatments, and the size of the window and the size of the room needs to be determined before you set the foundation. Global design is exactly about that. That you set the workforce structures, and if you're planning on enterprise ERP and financials, you set the enterprise data structures first. That you have the structures and the foundation done right, you have the workforce structures established. Once you have that established, you can put anything on top of that. If you try to do Taleo first and try to do performance first or goals first, because that is important, we understand that that is important. But we should also think through, while that is important, are we strategic about how we're going about this? Are we strategic in that, yes, a tactical need and the short-term need is to get a recruiting problem gone right away, or a goals and performance problem gone right away. But if you're thinking that HR needs to be relevant and relevant to the overall HR strategy of the corporation, you have to think beyond that and be strategic, so the investment made now, you are set for adding things on it later on. If you're thinking beyond HR, if you're thinking ERP, you will also have to be more strategic about that. In fact, you're going to, from Oracle, you're going to get a single instance where everything is going to be within the same instance and nothing is going to be shared. I'm sorry, nothing is going to be shared, meaning there's not going to be integration, it's going to be shared. That's the opposite. You won't have to have any integration because it's all on the same instance. HR is feeding into ERP and financials and vice versa. Set the enterprise data structures to be able to enable that capability of work. If you don't do that, what's going to happen is you will have 2 implementations, but you're not taking advantage of the single global instance that Oracle is providing in the cloud. By the way, that's the only SaaS software I know of that does have that feature, or great functionality and capability of no integrations needed between 2 mission-critical operations of your organizations: the finance, the supply chain, and the HR organization. And therefore, setting up the enterprise data structures, setting up the workforce structures, then you're well on your way to be strategic as much as you want to be down the road. People who have not done that, I know of people here, seated here, I've met with some of you, who went on with certain implementations and now they have to reconsider and go back and re-implement certain things because global design was not in factor during the initial stage. So if you don't think about this right up, you went ahead, I know of someone here who went and did Taleo implementation first, and now they want to do core, and they have to reconsider that again. And we'll talk about that if that's of concern. Next is governance. So now you have multi-dependency here. What I mean, multi-vendor dependency here. What I mean by that is traditional on-premise companies with on-premise software, what they have is just the vendor and the SI. I'm sorry, the customer and the SI. It's a deal between the 2 of us. You sign the contract and you have a single road to choke to go out. When it comes to cloud, you got a third party. In fact, they're not a third party, they're the primary party, and that's Oracle. Oracle's bringing you the entire infrastructure that you originally was going to IT for, is sitting in the cloud. They're in the mix. Then you have a fourth party, the benefits provider, the banks that you need to integrate with, all the other third-party systems that you need to deal with. You got 4 critical groups of people involved, categories of systems and people associated with that involved in your journey of cloud. Now, the thing about cloud is, With on-premise, it's a perpetual license, you can go on for a while. When Oracle signs you up for a cloud, for a subscription for cloud, the clock's ticking. You have 36 months or 5 years. And you want much of that time to be productive, usable time, not implementation. So as quickly as you can get this up and running, so you can start using for the money that you're paying to Oracle on a subscription basis, they're providing you the software, the better it is. So what we're talking about here is to be able to get this up and running quickly, and all 4 of these groups must be in concert during this implementation. If one of them drops the ball, if one of them fails, for example, the payroll provider that you're trying to integrate with, if they're not in the mix on a timely basis, you're going to have implementation prolonged beyond what was planned for 6 months or 12 months or whatever that is. So we need to think about that. You have companies, lessons learned of implementation that were planned for 6 months went on for 18 months. I mean, that was an extreme case, but that happened because of the dependency between multiple parties and not being on the same page. How do we govern that, and how do you make sure that that is established right up front, that all parties, because it's a cloud implementation, they all need to be part of the same process here. Now, next is best practices associated with your business process. You're adopting the cloud because you're taking what I would call accumulation of 2 decades of HR and ERP financial best practices that has come from the Advocacy Council, whether it's HR Advocacy Council, or the Financials Advocacy Council, and the user groups. It's all collected, it's all been built into Oracle's traditional platforms, PeopleSoft, EBS, and JD Edwards. What Oracle's done is taken all that. They don't need to reinvent that wheel. Back 100 years ago, what HR was, you hire people, you pay them, you give them benefits, you manage their performance. That hasn't changed. But the software that handles this, the technology has changed. So what Oracle's done is taken all the best practices and put that into modern technology, which is what we call HCM Cloud or ERP Cloud. That best practice is what you're going after when you're buying the software. You need to not try to change that. As much as possible, have a mandate from top down that we are going to adopt whatever comes out of the cloud, and we will align our processes to what comes from the cloud. Don't try to change the cloud, change yourself to the cloud. That's the statement I would make there. Acknowledgement of some people who have learned the lesson there. Data readiness. I'll show you an interesting picture here. What do you do in an implementation? You gather requirements, you build a design, you do the build development, you put the integrations together, you do testing, and you train, you cut over. Of all those activities conducted, we took the hours over the last 36 months of 120 plus projects that went live. We took the hours spent by our staff and your staff, and where the time was spent the most. An interesting statistic as developed. And these are hours coming straight from our billing system that we bill you with, where your hours are also in there, by the way. Look at this picture, by the way. So you do planning, you design, you do configuration, do conversion, testing, training, cut over. See where most of the time was spent. Conversion. How many hands as to where the time was spent on conversion? There you go. So these are people who are they're raising their hand in hesitation too, by the way. Because that's where most of, so what should be an awesome cloud rollout turn into a data cleanup, data conversion project. So you need to think about this well before you kick this off. Conversion is not only the SI's problem, in fact it becomes more of your problem, customer's problem, because you keep cleaning it. Am I doing something wrong? Okay. Nobody's liking conversion here. And believe me, you won't like it either, and we don't either. So it's a showstopper and a party pooper, if you will, right? All right, so much on, I think I'll leave it at that. And then the last one is user adoption. So when it comes to the cloud, there are a lot of things that are changing, not only from a user the end user perspective, but people who are managing the system as well. Today with on-premise, you can run to your IT guy and say, hey, can you fix this for me? And he does it within, he might be a friend, he might do it much faster than the SLA. That's not going to happen now because it's in the cloud, and there's good news and bad news. The good news is that it's all in the cloud, you have modern technology, you have great features coming with it. The downside is it's a very finicky product for good reasons. It will not accept anything from backdoor, it will not let you do it, right? It will, you have to go through the protocol to make it happen. That's how the software's integrity is maintained. So you will be somewhat frustrated in that scenario, but you will soon get to learn to work with it, and you can talk to the folks who are going live on how they're managing the SR process to get things done. So anyway, so user adoption, think about how you will engage the users right from the beginning. Not when you go after you go live or just when you go live, right from the beginning, to have a consensus-based approach from the users and from the project team at the same time, so that when it's gone live, you have HR and financial people so excited to come early to work and want to use this great system. Their fingers are itching to get onto the system and start using on a daily basis. That's how it needs to happen, right? So we're talking about user adoption. Five categories. Does it make sense? Makes sense, right? So with that said, what I want to do is I want to invite, I see that they're starting to eat well and ready to go. So let me just bring this up, back that particular 5 areas up there. I'm going to invite